Hello and welcome to Mark in the Park, the program from Urbana Park District that talks about all the latest things going on in your parks and keeps you up to date for maybe even some future events. Remember, at Urbana Park District, you belong here. I'm Mark Schultz, and we are joined by Tim Bartlett, Executive Director of Urbana Park District. And how are you this fine day?
Doing great. Thanks, Mark, for having me today.
Excellent, excellent. We have a lot of things to talk about, some potpourri, and we'll just kind of go down the line and check off the boxes as we go. First of all, a lot of interesting things happening with the Kickapoo Rail Trail, or what is known as the KRT.
Mark, we've got several things we're working on right now. First of all, the partners that we're working with are the Urbana Park District and the Champaign County Forest Preserve District. We're also working with the Vermilion County Conservation District because, as we know, the KRT really straddles two counties. We have a section here in Champaign County, and as it transfers over toward the Danville area, it goes into Vermilion County. So the plan all along was to ultimately get both of our forest preserve or conservation districts in a position that they could own and operate and manage the eventual fully built out 25-mile corridor. One of the other partners is the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. Early in the process, they stepped up and pledged support and ownership and management of the large bridge component. We have a 90-foot high tall bridge over on the Vermilion side that, due to their abilities to manage large projects and also to provide liability insurance over such things like state parks and other state, major facilities, it made a lot of sense to partner with them. So we actually have all three of those entities working together.
So IDNR is going to work on the bridge that's over at Vermilion County.
Correct.
But where is that?
That is over near Oakwood, Illinois.
Okay.
It's right in that vicinity, right along that rural edge of Oakwood. And what we do know also is there's different development schedules that are going on right now. First of all, the Champaign County Forest Preserve District has already built and opened the first 6 miles, so essentially connecting Urbana over to St. Joe. They had another small project where they were trying to make some accessibility and connections through the St. Joe area. And then their next project, or that third phase that they'll take on, is to go east beyond St. Joe to make that next connection.
Go from St. Joe to hook up at Oakwood.
Yes, or in that vicinity, obviously, depending on the amount of money and how far that, that construction bid could get them. That's not known today, but that's the general approach. It'll be a multi-phase, build out to reach the county line at the end of Champaign.
Now, eventually, people will be able to ride all of the proposed KRT route, but right now, for people living in Urbana, bike trip to St. Joe and back is a nice trip.
It is. It gives you about a 12-mile experience, and it's obviously different going over than it is coming back. But we're very excited about the idea of expanding that all the way over to the Danville area. I should also mention, too, the Vermilion County Conservation District is working on their section. We're a little further ahead in Champaign County, but we're working together with them. We have monthly meetings where all the entities come together. You might ask, why is the Urbana Park District involved with that? Because we don't necessarily own property. We have a couple of reasons why we're very involved in the project. One, we are operating the Trailhead Park at Weaver Park here in Urbana. That's sort of the meeting and takeoff spot, or arrival and destination if you're coming from the Danville side. We've also been involved all along through the acquisition process, working with the various foundations that have been working together to raise money for that. The key ultimate idea would be that once you get to Urbana, people would be using the Urbana park trails to get around to the other parks, and or the city of Urbana's street access that bikes and walkers could use to get around.
Timothy Bartlett, the Executive Director at Urbana Park District, is our guest today on Mark in the Park. And Tim, if people haven't gone over to Weaver Park recently, on the east side of Urbana, it's gone through a lot of changes recently, and it's a great spot to get ready and go on a bike trip.
It is. It's really been a wonderful and pretty rapid development. For a number of years, we've been working on the landscape portion, the trees, establishing the prairie. It has an ultimate use, more of an athletic complex and a naturalized park idea when it's fully built out. But we've been working to have soft trails established. The wetland feature is in place, a beautiful place. I'm going to say the best place to see birds in Champaign County. So it's usable today. You're able to take your bike on either a vehicle or drive it to that site, get information about the trail. There's some signage there that gives you some wayfinding and directional information. There are restroom facilities, a bike workstation if you needed air or to tighten something on your bike. So it's a very functional site right now. Again, we hope to add other amenities according to our master plan at Weaver Park. That'll provide, much nicer amenities like pavilions and indoor restrooms, with flush toilets, things like that eventually. But it's working pretty well right now. We have space for about 30 cars to park, so we've had different biking related events there. But it really is like a new front door to Weaver Park that you can access and go to today.
People need to check it out, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Now, about a year ago, I sat and talked with you about a potential to extend the KRT into downtown Urbana. It was
Yes.
in the grant stage for a feasibility study.
Exactly.
Where do we stand on that?
We were very fortunate. We actually did receive. We applied for and received funding through the State Planning and Research Grant. It's interesting to me because I've worked a lot of years in planning, and that particular grant has never really been funded. It may have been on the books, but it wasn't really something that they could award monetary, awards to. We were so fortunate to work in partnership again to be able to get that. And the idea would be where the trail ends in the Urbana area near Weaver Park, it would be picking up at that, which would be on the east side, and actually moving west all the way over to Lincoln Avenue. So that would be the study zone from where the trail ends today, all the way westward to Lincoln Avenue. Why was that destination selected? Obviously, it's the gateway into Urbana. It's also a strong connection near campus. So anybody moving through downtown Urbana or heading toward the campus area would greatly benefit to be able to access parks, retail, housing, other destinations along that route. It would particularly be a real boon or a benefit to downtown Urbana. That picture, if you could have a regional trail network that people from all over could actually ride right into downtown Urbana, go to a store, go to the post office, buy something or have lunch. It would be a great convenience and a great destination. We also think that the students at the University of Illinois coming from the campus area could move eastward into downtown Urbana on a safe, directly accessible route. So when we talk about it in our terms, we use the words transformational for Urbana. We don't have an amenity like that, but we visited other communities that do. And those are the words that they use. It's transformed their downtown. It opened a whole new dimension. A good comparison, if any of the listeners aren't really sure what that could be like, they may be familiar in the Bloomington Normal area. They have the Constitution Trail, which is now a 52-mile, I believe, extended bike trail that is a former rail line, but it has branches that go in different parts of the Bloomington Normal area. So now you can sort of get that picture of a truly connected ribbon of access that would go through parks or retail areas. It can be used for, have adjacent areas for, traditional parks or public art or other amenities and events even. They host different events on the trail.
That's an exciting prospect. The feasibility study is going on. Has it been completed yet?
No,
or are we still in the middle of it?
We're working with the Regional Planning Commission, Champaign County's Regional Planning Commission. They were asked to take the lead on that project. One, they have experience doing that grant. They're doing a few other grants for other organizations that are using that funding source. So they have direct knowledge of how to do that. They also have, and sort of are the clearinghouse for all of our, what I call regional data, information about traffic and demographics and what routes people use, and they have it all in a digital format, so as they begin the mapping and the testing process, they'll be well suited to complete that. So right now they're doing what they call the inventory stage. They're collecting all this different information. We have a small committee, and the Park District is taking the lead on that, because we do see that eventually this urban greenway, if you will, might likely and reasonably be considered a park. In our previous 2007-2008 strategic plan, we actually added linear parks into that park classification system for that eventual someday when you could get such a linear park like a regional trail put in. It could be any number of groups helping or assisting or taking the lead. We haven't really got to that part, but as far as the study, we've agreed to take the lead. Some of the next steps will be probably doing some layouts and looking at the right-of-ways. Who owns property? What are all the different lease arrangements? Maybe there's a number of businesses or entities that have some claim to using that trail. So we need to find out all of that information. What we do know is that it's a fairly low-use active rail line. There's about 2 trains a week that go through that Urbana section, and there's only a couple of vendors that use that service. So it is fair to characterize it as a low-use, active rail. We know probably people that walk it now, maybe when there aren't trains there, that they use it to go back and forth, whether they should or shouldn't. But one of our goals is to improve that. If we could find a way to lease a portion or eventually own that section, obviously you could see an established built trail that would be safe and accessible and connected throughout Urbana.
So we are going through the feasibility study now, and then you have to go through trying to acquire the land.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be a couple years down the road.
Exactly. If you use the current Kickapoo Rail Trail, it's taken a number of years to essentially go through those type of process. My experience in working on the front end of the original project was, they all take on their own shape, and there's different owners. For example, CSX was the rail line that owned that section that we acquired. This new section that we're talking about, the extended version that'll go further west, is actually owned by Norfolk Southern. So creating a dialogue and communicating with their business office and their planners will be a critical step. But the idea is that we could begin to have those conversations early, now, for example, to introduce that idea to see, do they have a precedence? Do they have an interest in doing that? Is there any way they would consider a lease approach as a way to start legitimate access along that corridor?
All right. At the risk of getting gonged off my own show, keep pedaling, and we'll get more updates as they go along.
You bet, for sure.
All right. We're going to switch some gears now, and if people have gone to Crystal Lake Park, Urbana Park District's oldest park, they've noticed a lot of changes this year.
Yes, and we're very glad that they are, and hope that they'll come to continue to take a look at seeing what's going on. But we've been really involved for the last several years in transforming Crystal Lake Park. Couple of reasons. One is it is our oldest and largest park, and it needs help. What we know in many communities throughout America and the world, that a lot of these older, treasured downtown parks in particular need renovation, on a cyclical basis. So every, 30 to 40 years, you're looking at serious renovation. Some of the reasons, obviously wear and tear, aging of the facilities, but we know people's interest in what they like to do in park space change over time. So what we're trying to offer now is a very interconnected park. We've got multiple facilities there, the Anita Purvis Nature Center, Crystal Lake, the Family Aquatic Center at Crystal Lake, the Lake House, and then the trail network and some of the other recreational amenities in the park. So our challenge is to really upgrade and get all of those facilities and elements connected so that they're all usable at the same time. So there'll be play options, picnic areas, play areas to play games, boating, things like that. Right now we're in that renovation stage, so the lake's lowered, things look a little rough. We've been cutting trees down that are, the invasive varieties that we want to clear out and clean out. But the eventual plan around the current project is to come back, re-landscape, regrade all the banks, replant it with more desirable species. One of the components and outcomes we hope is better goose control. We continue to hear from the public how they hope that a solution to the overpopulated number of geese will improve with this, and we have hopes and plans that it will. But again, the goal would be to restore the rest of the park over the next couple of years, and then also bring back new programming to the site. One addition, an example that we've started maybe even a little ahead of before the renovation is done, is the art fair that was held this weekend at Crystal Lake, and that was an example where people were excited to have another big event return to Crystal Lake Park like we used to in the many years in the past.
And one big thing in the summer of 2019, the Park Street multi-use pathway.
Yes.
Boy, did that open up access to the park.
Well, it is one of those things, if you build it, they will come, and they usually come before the trail's built and finished. That's been a good, wonderful collaborative process. We were funded through the Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program, which is federal funds that pass through each state, that each state gets their formula of an amount. So we applied for that, and we received it, and it provides about 80% of the cost is provided. That left our 20% local match, and we were very fortunate to work with the Carl organization. They stepped up when we asked, would they be our match to help provide that? I think some of their benefits obviously are helping to beautify the edge of their campus, make directional destination walks for visitors and staff and folks that come to Carl on a daily basis. So one of the direct connections and outlet, not only does it come through and bring you right to the park and the lake house on that south end of Crystal Lake, but it gets you over to the 5 Points shopping district where there are stores, restaurants, retail things that people go on a daily basis. Now there's just a better, safer, direct, more pleasant route to do it.
It takes a lot of planning to do a project like we're seeing at Crystal Lake, and gold stars to the Planning and Operations Department at the Park District.
Absolutely. We have a dynamic planning team, and they just have really zeroed in on this park in particular and how, again, I use the word transformational, redeveloping Crystal Lake would be. If you can imagine a vibrant, upscale looking park that people are arriving daily in large numbers to do a wide variety of activities, that would be fantastic. So they have a very keen eye and continue to manage these multifaceted projects. Something I would mention quickly too is we've applied for and received grant funding through DNR also. So we could likely have multiple projects with different funding sources happening and converging at the same time. It's fairly clear and straightforward to us, but we often are challenged with communicating to our public to make sure they know, are things going to be closed or open or easily accessible if they come to visit. I can easily say we haven't had any shutdowns of the park yet. People have been able to visit for their regular picnics or walks or family reunions, things like that. Probably our lake operation with the boating has been in sort of a transition of we're not providing it right now because the lake has been lowered, but eventually when the lake is back up, we could resume our boating operations as well.
Hopefully spring of 2020.
We hope so. And I should mention to the listeners too, we do have several phases of these projects. So I would love to say we're going to wrap it up in the fall, but the reality is we have multiple phases. We'll keep working. One of those projects yet to come is transitioning the road system into a one-way road. And the idea is that we would have a point of entry, most likely off the Park Street on the south side, and have a circuitous route to drive through the park in one side of the road, and on the other side, or the other half of the road, to allow bikes and pedestrians to use it. Again, transformational is the word because you can then facilitate auto traffic. While it's a low volume road, we do get many people that like to drive through the park to see the lake, the trees, the wildlife that visit the park. But it doesn't mean that you can't also have walkers and bikers doing the same thing. Sure. The other benefit is it reduces the need to pave more areas of the park for additional trails. So utilizing an already in place road system that would need to be resurfaced eventually really makes a lot of sense.
And one more topic to cover today. Our mission at Urbana Park District is to help provide for health and wellness in the community. And the Park District is considering a health and wellness center. Tell us a little bit about that and where we stand at the moment.
I would love to, and that's a great question, Mark. I think it's a well-known fact. The Park District's been involved with health and wellness activities really since our beginning. But we haven't necessarily had that dedicated indoor space that you could do all types of programs and events that relate to health and wellness. A couple of things to maybe get out there. I think the old gym concept or the old rec center maybe has really kind of evolved, and so you'll see more communities establishing health and wellness based type centers because it's really a great way to look at the whole mind body approach to what we offer. Certainly working out and getting your body physically strong is great, but finding things that reduce your stress or enhance relaxation, learning new techniques about eating healthy or exercising on a regular basis, or having social networks that you have people to share your life with. It really creates that kind of an atmosphere. So when we begin to visit other centers, that's what we learned in that, is that they're not just a walking track, but it's a destination. It creates community. It brings people together that have similar interests. And so not having it, it's easy to talk about that because we don't have that in place. And so we're not able to realize all those really important outcomes. Having a new facility that our youth in Urbana identify, that's really critical to create that drop-in destination where anytime a group of youth want to get together and head over to the health and wellness facility to do something, they would determine. Maybe they just want to hang out and be there because it's a neat place to be. That gives us that opportunity, and we don't have that right now. I'd say we're doing the best we can at the Brookins Gymnasium. It is our most visited facility in the district, but it doesn't have the capacity or the enhanced features that really bring everybody's interest, together. So when we talk about a multi-generational, multi-use facility, that really means being able to facilitate tiny babies and their parents and activities and things that help families grow and bond together. Certainly our youngest of youth, children, our teens, our singles in the community, families that are established, and then our older adults, so that everybody has an opportunity to connect with the Urbana Park District.
And are you starting to move the ball on that?
We are. We've done a lot of things. One, we've been out talking with other potential partners. And we're not the only group in town that has space needs and that are interested in improving Urbana's health and wellness. So we're seeking out different groups and organizations that have an interest in that. We've also developed a very exciting program statement. The program statement is really sort of the listing of features and activities, spaces that we need in this facility. And so we've laid all those out, which help translate into square footage. How much space do you need for a facility like that? I think right now we're looking at roughly around 40,000 square feet. So by no means is it, a gargantuan sized, facility. I would consider it a modest approach, which would probably fit our population and likely our budgets in operation.
So it's a lot of planning, preliminary meetings with potential partners,
Correct.
Seeing what the financial needs are.
Exactly.
But a commitment to try and make this thing go.
Right. We are very encouraged. We know that we feel the timing is right. There's a number of groups that have kind of a similar call or mission. They're very concerned about the community's health and wellness. I continue to remind people, Urbana's in a health crisis right now. We've got many disaffected youth. We've got many people that really need physical activity, many people that need mental and emotional support to get through the day, just stress relief and how to manage, how to order their lives. It's serious. We're getting reports through our local medical providers, the number of people that are concerned about diabetes and being overweight or heart conditions or breathing conditions, those kind of chronic life-defining, situations. We know that they can be improved with the addition of health and wellness centers where you can go and get the helps and the services that you need. Also, again, I can't emphasize enough the sense of community that's derived out of that. You're not alone. You're with people that are interested in the same activities or life pursuits that you are, so it helps make connections, find friends, groups that you identify with. So this health crisis is very serious, but it can be improved. Many other communities are choosing to make it so, if you will. Mayors, leaders, park district officials get together and start working together to say we're going to improve the health of our community. It's also augmented by other things in the community, having a good trail network and having community events that bring people out. So it's really, like I say, it's the whole cake. It's not the cherry on top, but it's really the whole cake.
Well, sounds like there's a lot of bacon on the cake going on right now.
Absolutely.
From maybe shopping for the ingredients to
That's
mixing
right.
the ingredients, and maybe hopefully we'll be ready to pop something into the
We hope so.
oven and bake it.
We absolutely hope so. That would be great news for us to be able to define a project and be able to share it with the public in the near future.
I can't wait to have you come on Mark in the Park again
Fantastic.
and give some more exciting news.
Love to, and give me a call anytime.
Will do. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Mark.
Tim Bartlett, Executive Director at Urbana Park District, has been our guest today on Mark in the Park. A lot of exciting things happening in Urbana Park District. Remember, as those exciting things are happening, remember at Urbana Park District, you belong here. I'm Mark Schultz. Thanks for joining us.